Hello, this is 6 Minutes English from BBC Learning English. I'm Neil. Do you know where the food on your plate comes from? Many people just assume that shops always are ready with cheap and plentiful of supply. But recently, a lot of certain food in the UK, a situation known as food shortage, has left supermarket shelves empty of everyday items like eggs, tomatoes, and cucumbers. Some CV foods recalls by cold weather combined with rising energy prices as a warning not to take reliable supply food for granted. Like many countries, the UK imports much of its food from abroad and for years has enjoyed stable and affordable supply. But with changes in the world economy, inflation and the effect of climate change, how much longer will this continue? In this program, we'll be finding out and as usual learning some useful vocabulary as well. A reliable food supply is essential. In fact, there's an English expression about the dangers of not having enough food for everyone. We are only 9 meals away from. But away from what? Is it A, revolution, B, anarchy, or C, famine? I guess it's revolution. Okay, so I'll reveal the answer later on. Besides difficulties and in importing food, some countries are also producing less food than they used to. In the UK, many farmers are selling their apple orchards to house rather than struggle with the production cost. Here's Adam Leyland at a magazine speaking with BBC Radio 4's The Food Programme. The forecast is for a lowest level of production since records began, and I want to think about how much investment has been in glasshouses and tunnels since 1985 in the way that transforms UK, quite frankly. The fact that this is being forecasted is extraordinary. Adam says that British food production is at its lowest since records began, a phrase used to mark the point in the past where people start writing down an account of something rather than just remembering it, so that the information can be used in the future. Production is decreasing despite improvements in how food is grown, especially the use of glass houses and polytunnels. A glass house is a large greenhouse, a building with glass sides used for the commercial growing of fruits and vegetables. A polytunnel is a similar structure, but maybe using plastic. However, it is not only Brits who are worried about the production and supplies of their foods. Changes are happening all around the world. When global demands for food outgrow supplies, countries start competing with each other. According to Oxford University Professor Charles Godfrey, an expert on global food systems, are now living in a less connected, less collaborative, a world which he says is deglobalizing. Deglobalization involves source of food near to home, domestically from neighbor countries. While this sounds positive, Professor Godfreys is worried that deglobalization makes it harder to supply foods to parts of the world which cannot produce enough for themselves. Here he shares concern with the food program, BBC. We think that in the next 30 or 40 years, we will probably see demand for food rising. And I think the question is for the UK is stepping to help meet that demand, given that we have a sophisticated to home agriculture. You can argue completely the opposite that we live in a country where we are very too populous for meat and we should produce less food here and use our land more for biodiversity. My view is that we plant lime trees in a canny way. One can produce more food and one produce the biodiversity for the country. He says that only deglobalized system can successfully feed the world population. Countries that can produce food should be stepping up to meet demand. If you step up to a situation, you start taking responsibility for doing something to improve things. We need a balance to growing food and maintaining the earth biodiversity, the number of varieties of plants and animals living on earth. Depending on these circumstances, countries could use land to grow food or promote biodiversity. The professor thinks that it is both possible if we are canny, being clever and quick thinking. Feeding the world is an urgent global challenge with serious consequences, as mentioned in the English expression. So, maybe it's time you reveal the answer, right? So, yes, I asked you to finish the saying, we're only 9 meals away from, and I guessed it was 9 meals away from revolution, which was the wrong answer, I'm afraid. Actually, the said goes we're 9 meals away from anarchy. I really hope not, but just in case, let's work out the vocabulary, starting with food shortage, a situation where not enough food is produced. The phrase "since records began" show the point where in the past where people start keeping written accounts of events rather than just remembering them. A glass house is a large greenhouse that's built with glass sides for growing foods. If you step up to a situation, you start taking responsibilities to act to improve things. Biodiversity is the variety of plants and animals living in the natural environment. And finally, the adjective of canny is clever and quick thinking. Once again, our 6 minutes are up. Bye for now.